Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so this is going to be kind of a casual ticker request live for Sunday, June 29th, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, a few minutes after the hour. I'm just going to go over the usual tickers that I cover or have covered in pre-market preps slash overnight market preps, because that's effectively what this is, an overnight market prep to start the week beginning Monday, June 30th. And yeah, I hope you guys have had a great weekend. I have had kind of a chaotic weekend working on stuff at home. Was doing some work, found some rot, had to replace some stuff, and a small or a large project over the weekend ended up turning into an even larger project. And yeah, I think it's not finished. It's not where I'd like it to be, but it's in a good place. So I feel good about that. And I've been keeping busy. So hopefully you guys have had a great weekend or looking forward to the short week. The market's going to be closed on Friday for 4th of July. Whether you're American or not, you got to celebrate Friday. The stock market is closed. And yeah, I'm probably not going to be doing overnight market preps or pre-market preps. Just because, I do really enjoy doing them, but it's a lot of work. It takes a lot out of me. And let's see, I'm just going to pull up the channel here to show kind of, the stuff that I have been working on. So just going over to the videos tab, I did put out this video earlier today. It's an hour and a half long, pretty crazy, where I go over, let's see, Webull, Intel, Mara, and Unity Software, and go over the options data, stuff like that. So I think that's going to be like a really valuable video, and I'll probably follow up on those stocks because I do in that video, I believe for all four of them, I mention my positions, and I'll probably cover them if I'm taking profits or if I'm if there's something that stands out to me in the data. But yeah, I think in that video I did mention that I'll probably be taking profits earlier than the top, and that's just, me managing risk. And, in learning how to manage that risk, I do end up getting out of positions a little bit earlier than I'd like. I also end up getting into positions earlier than I'd like. So that's kind of the consequence of it, I'd say. And then also did the Crypto Corner Sat Stacker. Now we're in 45 minutes. Well, I'm sure not everybody likes these kinds of videos. They're very helpful for me, and I will try to include timestamps, so hopefully they're helpful for you guys rather than doing 4 videos. It's exhausting. Got to figure out thumbnails, stuff like that. This is just a little bit easier for me, and then I will do kind of periodic videos like the QuantumScape one, where, gapping up on breakthrough news. I took profits earlier than I should have. I could have made a lot more money with that. But at the same time, I took profits on a position that I didn't necessarily have a lot of conviction in. QuantumScape, very interesting, but it's not one that I had to hold. So it was nice to take profits on that. So yeah, I'll probably do more periodic videos, kind of like the QuantumScape one, kind of like this one, just because they add value for me and hopefully they add value for you guys. Yeah, I'm going to come back over to the charts here. I do have, you guys probably can't read it because it's backwards, but I've got a little cider here. I need to make ice cubes, and I think I've got an orange from last week, so I could have used the orange peel from that. But yeah, I don't have ice cubes made, and I've just been kind of in a cider mood. There's a little grocery store nearby where I live, and they have like a sale rack that's overflowing with ciders. And cider is actually pretty refreshing after a hot day working outside. Yeah, so cheers to you guys, whether you're watching this Sunday evening, watching this Monday, or sometime during the week. I hope you're having a wonderful time. This is a cheers to you, to the weekend, to the week, and to the channel. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. Sorry I posted this, the link to this stream last minute. I was just working outside. And I actually kind of had a little bit of a really nice experience, which I'll explain after I take a sip of this. But yeah, I was working on my house. Kind of sucks. Kind of hate my life working on it. But there was somebody who I think just, happened to look up, chatted with this guy a couple days ago. He's walked by again today, chatted with me. He was asking about, what I'm doing with the house. And he was asking, basically what I'm doing and stuff. Just living in a house, trying to fix it up. And we were just chatting about where we learned, construction skills. And I got my construction skills from AmeriCorps. And this is like the first time I've ever interacted with somebody from AmeriCorps who had also done construction. He was in AmeriCorps about 15 years ago, but in talking with him, I realized that I was in AmeriCorps 20 years ago, which is insane. I just realized today that I was in AmeriCorps 20 years ago. Insane. Mind blown at the emoji. Sorry, I'm just typing this out. AmeriCorps NCCC class 11. And then I'll do... Actually, I don't use the fist pump or the fist bump emoji very often, so I'm going to have to scroll to see what it is. But yeah. Oh, I'll just do the yellow one. And USA. Man. It was very cool to just, chat with somebody about AmeriCorps. And I feel like, that's government service, national service, but very different from the military. But I imagine that I felt something chatting with this guy that I imagine people serving or who have served in the military experience when they bump into a vet who had kind of a similar experience. And yeah, we both, I was in AmeriCorps for 2 years. First year was based in South Carolina, traveled around the Southeast. And that was when I was in the NCCC, which stands for National Civilian Conservation Corps. And I believe he might have, to be honest, I was a little intoxicated working on the house, so I'm not exactly sure what he said. But I think he said Civilian Conservation Corps, so that would have been the National Civilian Conservation Corps, Community Corps. And yeah, I don't know. That was just a cool experience. Because whenever I mention AmeriCorps, it's either people have heard of it or if people were in AmeriCorps, they had just done teaching. I did tutor when I was in it, but I also worked at state parks and did construction. Yet, like I said, I think I was getting there and got sidetracked. First year was based in South Carolina, traveled around the Southeast. The second year, I worked for Habitat for Humanity doing construction. And that was based in San Antonio, Texas. And this guy had done his service, I believe, in Austin. He met his wife there about 15 years ago. So very cool. That's just yeah, I don't know. I've never had that kind of experience. So that was really cool. But anyways, I know you guys aren't here for that. And also, I will get into charts. But aside from the cider, I do have a giant cookie here in front of me that I cut into 8 slices. And so I'll probably nibble on that throughout the stream if people do join. Yeah, I'm just going to go through these tickers here. Beginning with UVIX, which is the 2X Long VIX Futures ETF, which closed on Friday at a price of $22.74. It is down a little bit, about 1.5%, in the overnight trading around $22.38. And so this is really just, going lower. I suspect it'll probably hit 20. If I flip over to the 10-minute time frame, we see that gap down. And, what was the news over the weekend? I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's a surprise to me. And I guess the extent of these things, because I was concerned about a lot of foreign affairs, and war type stuff. But Trump's been knocking it out of the park Stock market's at all-time high, so with that being said, the volatility is going to be dropping down. We do see this gap here. And, the thing that I'm really looking at, to be honest, I haven't been paying attention to the UVIX too closely. I do, though, I should note, have a buy order at 22 just for one more share. But the real reason why I'm even considering that is because of the VIX. And so the VIX closed on Friday at a price of $16.32, down 1.63% on the day. And this closed the week below 17. So I feel like 20, this is the 10-minute chart. So if I go back to the daily, the 17, I got the alert here, closing below that, 3 days closing below that level, and then $20 marked up here. So, the volatility is pretty far down. And so, it's just, I don't know if it's going to spike up. If we look at the past, the VIX has been down well below $16. Over here, it hit a low of $12.70. Over here, it hit a low of around $14.74. So I guess you could say that is putting in higher lows. I don't know that that's relevant for the VIX. But, getting down below 17 towards, the 1270 over here or the 1062 over here. Just look at that. 1062, and a few days later, this thing spiked up, 500%. 17 days later, so 2 weeks and 2 days. That's kind of what's making me feel like, I'll add a little bit more to my UVIX position, but I'm just going to be doing it casually. But while the VIX is below 17, I feel like, it's just good to be hedging. Everything's at all-time highs, or, the stock market's at all-time highs. Maybe something happens in the Middle East, like the break of the ceasefire or whatever, and that creates some volatility. I suspect it will be short-lived, and I think that any pullback in the market will be short-lived. So I'm not too concerned about that. Let's go on to the next one in the list, which is the SPY. Closed on Friday at a price of $614.91, being up about 0.5% on the day. And we can see it hit an all-time high for the SPY on Friday, and that would be June 27th, I believe. The prior high was 609.59, and we closed the week at a new all-time high, closing at 614.91 and hitting a high there. But what does the SPX look like? This is a better tracker and indicator of the S&P 500. And so this closed at a price of $6,173.07, again being up about 0.5%. Here it looks like 0.52%. And what was the prior all-time high? That was 6,147. Yeah, we're well above that with that close. But let's see. Here we do have a higher high. We do have a higher high in the RSI. I don't know. I think that things are looking pretty good. So, but maybe they roll over. Maybe we pull back to 5,865, the red line there, or the SPY, that would correspond with a pullback to around 582, maybe 590, the yellow line there. But I really have no idea. But something that I feel like I follow a lot more closely is just crypto and, Bitcoin in general. Bitcoin currently trading above $108,000, and I'm actually going to flip over to TradingView for looking at this. This is something that I did go over in Crypto Corner Sat Stacker, is that it does look like we are in this downtrending channel. We are at the top of it, so maybe we could see a pullback to around 100,000, maybe not breaking it, but if we do break 100,000, I think that would just be a really nice opportunity. Last week we did hit a low, I guess a week ago on Sunday the 22nd, Bitcoin hit a low of $98,225.01. And that was a really nice dip buying opportunity, shaking out the weak hands, putting in these lower lows. So anybody who had a stop loss here at this green line, which is at 100,377 and 1 cent, that stop loss got swept and we got a very nice bounce. And so I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but just looking at that candle, this red candle here, we opened up here, big wick down, closed down here. But that was like a pretty dramatic day because the day before, Saturday the 21st, the low was $100,919.19. And so, we hadn't been below 100,000 in like weeks. And I don't necessarily think people were expecting that. And so that was kind of a dramatic move to the downside. I feel like it probably spooked some people. And those weak hands, maybe they sold up at the top here because, it's like a husband and wife talking, honey, we've had enough. It's already at 107, 108,000. That's, however many X above our average. Let's just take profits and walk away from it in case it goes back down sub 100. Then we can add. And then we get a sweep of those lows maybe again. Maybe it goes to 97,000. Honey, see, I told you. I'm glad we sold at 107,000 because it broke lower and it's keeps putting in lower lows. It's going to keep going lower. And then after that, we see a new all-time high. And then you see the interaction. Honey, why did we sell? This was supposed to be long-term. And so I'm feeling really good about Bitcoin, but I would like to get more aggressive if it does come down to around 100,000. So we'll see if that happens. I suspect it won't, but it is what it is. I don't know that I have it up here. I'm just going to pull up my profile. I've searched David Sachs so much. I'm going to pull up his official government account because he did post this. Let's see. June will be a big month with a bill signing for Genius and Clarity going to the Senate. July. I don't know if I said June. Sorry, I meant July. So, I think that crypto could be going a lot higher. I think Bitcoin could be leading the way. But I also think that I'm not going to talk about Doge. I'm just going to talk about Ethereum real quick. And, Ethereum's currently trading around 2,500. But maybe we get a pullback down to around 382 again, around 2,300. Maybe we come back to this green line around 2,100. And, I think that Ethereum could be hitting 8,000 later this year. But I think that's everything, I wanted to cover over here. I guess I'll just put it on the Ethereum chart with my old retracements and stuff from before, because I do see there is a chat from Johannes Barrier. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but nice to see you there. I'm doing really good. I don't know. I spend my time at work doing stuff for the channel or stock market or working on a house, my house. And it's way too much work. I don't have any time to enjoy myself. But in doing work on the house today, I started enjoying myself. So I'm feeling pretty good. And happy to take requests if you got them. I see YouTube's telling me that, or at least YouTube via OBS is telling me nobody's watching currently. I saw your chat was from about 5 minutes ago, so sorry if I missed you. But I'm doing great. I hope that you're doing well. Cheers to you. Happy to go over stocks upon request if you do have them. I'm just going to nibble on this little cookie that I've got here. But yeah, if there is anything going on in the chat, I might just pull up the stonks that I hold, stonks tab here, or that I have positions in, whether I hold shares or not. I might have puts, I might have calls. I might have shares. But yeah, anything that stands out over here, just kind of scanning. I'd be curious about Mara. The overnight trading, it's up 1.8%. A little bit of a gap up, but nothing too crazy around 15.13. Nothing too crazy there. Tesla. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the Tesla being delivered autonomously, but that's pretty crazy stuff. I, to be honest, have not even sat in a Tesla before. But someday I will own one, I imagine. And I feel like the first time sitting as a passenger as the car drives you, I feel like that will be a very similar sensation to like the first time going on a plane, as an adult. So like when planes first became, accessible for like commercial, affordable. Because I remember like the first time I went on an airplane, I was probably a little kid. But, like the first time going on a plane by myself and, stuff like that, you're a little bit nervous initially, but then it just becomes normal. And so I feel like Tesla and their self-driving and stuff, it's going to be kind of like that. But yeah, I might see what I got, the notifications over here. Oh, cool. I need to respond to Chio. She sent me a message. I don't do messages that often. I need to respond to her. And she was actually in the military, and that's kind of what got me thinking about, the AmeriCorps experience and that. AmeriCorps is very odd because it's like, there's a Veterans Day. Those who have served in the military should definitely be celebrated, and that's definitely, a higher rank above non-military service. But there isn't like a day to celebrate national service, which I think should be in addition to Veterans Day. Because, I don't know, it was 20 years ago, 19 years ago since my last, I finished AmeriCorps in 2026. In 2006, crazy. And yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of memories with that and stuff, and like experience that I've had that, to be honest, my experience in AmeriCorps wasn't really that great. I learned a lot of skills. I feel like I helped people, but I feel like the structure of the program, the infrastructure, the oversight, whatever, was not conducive to, I don't know, being as productive, being as efficient, and also kind of recognizing the sacrifice that you're making, setting your life aside to serve. And, with that, I got to see, man, I think what I need to do is I need to do a little road trip and kind of revisit some of the places of my life, like Charleston, South Carolina. That will be like, there's this place, I called it Pineapple Park, but I think it's actually called Waterfront Park. I'm just going to go down memory lane. If you guys care. I don't know if you do. I don't think that anybody's here. But I am just going to look up Waterfront Park in Charleston, South Carolina, because I called this Pineapple Park because of this pineapple water fountain. And because Google Maps didn't exist back then. And I remember I lived in the dorms on an old Coast Guard base, an old naval base that was a Coast Guard base. I think it's now a full-on Coast Guard base. The last time I tried to stop by there, I don't think I was allowed on as a civilian. But I just kind of wanted to revisit some memories. And back then, it was right after high school, between the age of 18 and 19. I lived in Charleston at an old naval base, at the time U.S. Coast Guard base slash AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC, which no longer exists. It wasn't that efficient. It was a good idea, good intentions, but didn't really end up. You'd work on a project for 6 weeks. You can't really, make a big change in the community in 6 weeks. And yeah, I was not able to drink when I was there. I see that maybe somebody's joined. I'm just rambling about my experience in AmeriCorps because I just realized it's been 20 years. And this is what I referred to at the time as Pineapple Park, but this is Waterfront Park in Charleston. When I was in AmeriCorps the first year, I lived on this old naval base outside of town. And I don't know how I got a bicycle. I had a bicycle, and I rode about half an hour into town to get photos developed. I was the photo representative for my team, film photography on a Nikon camera. And so I'd take my film into the Camera King in downtown Charleston on Market Street, or just, it was basically like Market Street's right here. And the street, I forget the name of the street, but Camera King was like right over here. And I'd drop off film. I got to know the owner. And then I just walked down Market Street. There was a Krispy Kreme on Market Street, and then I just sit, at Waterfront Park for an hour, eat my donut, just look out on the water. And this is another fountain that's around there, just like a block away. Crazy. This is a photo from 2 years ago. I think that I need to go back to Charleston just to, it's not necessarily my roots because I only lived there for the first year in AmeriCorps was 10 months. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the view, swampy, marshy, or whatever, segue into the ocean, into the water. And yeah, the reason why I called it Pineapple Park, because Google Maps didn't exist back then. I wasn't able to drink. There was a Wet Willie's that I had liked to, I think I had a fake ID. I got a couple of drinks there once. But yeah, I feel like I need to go on a pilgrimage back to Charleston, these places that I worked at, or, kind of volunteered at, for 6 weeks through AmeriCorps. When I was in Charleston, I did work with Habitat when I was there. I didn't do too many projects in Charleston, but I did work in 2 state parks, Table Rock and I forget the name of the other one. Another state park near Table Rock. They actually connected via trail, and I actually hiked between them. And hey, I don't know what G2G means, but hope to catch next week. Oh, gotta go. Sorry if I'm just rambling. There haven't been any requests, so I've just been sharing some stories. But TZ, yeah, I will. I'll probably be streaming again Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I might do another stream or something during the week. But yeah, I don't know. It hit me today that it's been 20 years since I was in AmeriCorps. And this is just a time, when there is no cell phones. I mean, there was cell phones back then, but it wasn't like the digital age that we're in now. Yeah. This is just so many memories for me. 20 years. It's more than half of my life ago, but soon it will not be. Yeah, I feel like I need to go back to Charleston. Pineapple Fountain, I called it Pineapple Park. That's just so weird. And then in other places that I worked at that first year in AmeriCorps, I worked at it was a was that was at a YMCA after school program in Jackson, Mississippi, and then I also worked at some schools known as Mr. Andrew. Hey Greg, what's up? If you've got some tickers, happy to go over them. I just realized it's been about, it's been more than 20 years since I started AmeriCorps, but it's been 20 years since my first year in AmeriCorps, and I was based in Charleston, South Carolina. So there was this park, waterfront park. Back then, I called it Pineapple Park because I wasn't able to Google it. I didn't know how to do that. At least there were cell phones, but no smartphones, and it didn't really matter what the name of the park was. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just had a nice interaction with a neighbor while I was working on my house. We bonded over. I don't know how this is with you guys, but I feel like with kind of the culture of today, there's not that much. I mean, I don't know. Men can be shitty, but I feel like there's been a lot of man hating and a lot of not appreciation of being a man. And I feel like that's been hitting me a lot lately, maybe because it's Pride Month. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just like working on stuff constantly. And I gained construction skills in AmeriCorps. My second year, I was based in San Antonio, Texas. I worked for Habitat for Humanity and doing construction that year. Other things that I did my first year, I mentioned Jackson. I also, Tellico Plains, Tennessee. I worked at an after school program at a Boys and Girls Club. I had actually been back there when I was in grad school. I lived in Florida, and I passed through doing a little road trip. The Boys and Girls Club had closed. But that was maybe one of the most profound experiences I've had as like an adult, because the 6 weeks were separated over uh, uh, before Christmas and after Christmas. And I got to know the kids a little bit the first basically 3 weeks. And then I had 3 weeks later, and there was this little girl that it's like I was a big brother to her, like a father to her. She really connected with me. We really connected with each other. And yeah, I think that uh, it's like when we were leaving, so it was only 6 months. I was not that well put together towards the end, having to say goodbye to this little girl. And I was saying how much I appreciate her to her grandmother, who was like her guardian, because I think her mother, I don't know, got knocked up, or it wasn't, no marriage. It was just kind of a thing. And so her grandmother was watching over her. And I just told her, how special her little granddaughter was. And she said, she knows um, because her husband, her grandfather, or the little girl's grandfather, had recently died in a car crash, I believe. And it was like that little girl gave that her grandmother, everything to live for. And yeah, I lost touch with that kid, all those kids. And then I also did some roofing in Florida with Rebuilding Together. It's just so many great memories of the South. And yeah, it's like, a more wholesome version of me, a less corrupted, version. And so, yeah, I don't know. I felt like sharing that because I haven't gotten too many chats. But yeah, Greg's saying, I like the Carolinas, went on vacation years ago with my parents going to Florida. Yeah, and other related to, like, so I feel like Charleston in South Carolina is like a sister city of Savannah in Georgia. And growing up, I had done some family vacations to Savannah. And so I feel like, Charleston is like a place where I got to know who I was as an independent adult, or I began to get to know myself there. But like Savannah, like mirrors that a lot. But that was me as, a child going on family vacations. And I love the South so much. Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes if I drink, I'll have a little bit of a southern drawl, And that's just like, I just feel comfortable in that space. I hadn't lived there long enough to do it, but I didn't like grow up calling people sir when I lived in Texas. I got in that habit. Excuse me, sir. Stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. AmeriCorps has been such a, I don't know, like influential part of my life. 20 years later, still, hits me. But Greg's saying people in my state are moving to the Carolinas, actually. Yeah, so for me, I've been trying to think, I live in Iowa. I really don't like it. Not necessarily that I don't like Iowa, but where I live, it's a small college town. It's very liberal. Not that, to get into politics or anything, but it's very like, it's like a bubble in a non-liberal state. And, it's like the view of things is fairly distorted here. I like the melting pot. I like to exchange ideas with people who conflict with me, and back and forth, whatnot. Or maybe there's some agreement as well. And I just feel like such an oddball here. And I've been trying to think about a place that I'd like to move to. I feel like I'd really like to move to Austin, actually. So I might plan a vacation next year to go to Austin to kind of scout it out. But I just feel like with Tesla, with Joe Rogan and the comedy scene there, the music scene, of course, I feel like that'd just be a really exciting place to live, at the forefront of innovation there with Tesla, and also being in Texas with SpaceX. That would be super cool. So yeah, I'm not in my forever home, which is like crazy because I'm almost 40, believe it or not. And yeah, I need to figure out where my forever home is. And so I just got on the ticker request live list. I just got the tickers that I'd done in the video before, but I do see that Greg has requested SONM. So I will add that up here. Sorry for the long ramblings to get to it. But I don't know if people enjoy the ramblings and the tangents and stuff, or if it's a nuisance. Maybe the channel would grow more if I stayed more focused, but that's just the way that I talk. And I think it's also just kind of like being nervous on camera, in all honesty, that people are watching. But yeah, SONM is Sonim Technologies. I'm going to just read the profile to get a better understanding of them. So Sonim Technologies is a provider of rugged mobile solutions, including phones, wireless internet data services, accessories, and software designed to provide extra protection for users. And so the company distributes its products primarily through major wireless carriers. The company has products available at 3 United States Tier 1 carriers like AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, as well as 3 primary carriers in Canada Canada Bell, TELUS. When I lived in Vancouver, we used TELUS. But I believe Rogers was also an option, but I used TELUS. More memories, gosh, I'm in too much of memory lane this weekend. And Testra in Australia, not familiar. I've been to the airport in Sydney, but I've never left the airport, so I don't know if that counts for going to Australia. I was on my way to New Zealand. And multiple carriers throughout Europe. The ruggedized mobility solutions target 3 end markets: industrial, enterprise, public sector, and consumers. It serves various sectors such as critical communications, first responders, government, industrial, construction, hospitality, and logistics. In addition, its devices provide a wide range of connectivity options for its end customers, including location tracking and Bluetooth for certain of its devices, and its phone support a wide range of global frequencies. So I was actually reading that. I was not as intrigued because it seemed just very niche and like not necessary. But knowing that they're sold at AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, it makes me feel a little bit more confident. And then just like reading this, I don't know if I can highlight. I can't highlight over here. It just pops up. But just the, first responders, that kind of raised my eyebrow. Government, industrial, construction, hospitality, logistics. it seems like they have a niche and they're providing a very specific service or products to large order clients, I guess, or large order customers that, for buying their products for a fleet, something like that. So that, I guess, is kind of intriguing. I think I don't necessarily like about it is going to be the price, $1.42. I have been kind of shying away from the cheaper stocks because, I mean, if the stock market's making new all-time highs, but just in this time frame, you can see that SONM is not. That is maybe a little bit concerning. Also, there is, I don't know how nice this would be from this pivot point, but just pointing out there's a little bit of a downtrend. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not super beautiful, but there's just been this downtrend. There was, a move up here on January 15th up to 638, but that was quickly pulled back. No idea what happened then. There was a fake out break above, but then pulled back. And then now kind of like a double top here, getting rejected from that downtrend. And, yeah, I mean, maybe just drawing another array here. Could do something like that. So, I mean, I would think that with the kind of double top rejection, and, I mean, one thing that I guess is good about this is that it is a lower high, and you do see a lower high in the RSI, so there's no bearish divergence there. But what I could see happening with this is, maybe a pullback to test the bottom of that channel or the bottom of the wedge again, maybe pull back to the middle and then break above. Something like that, But maybe that's already kind of played out right here, I can't stretch it, but I think you get the idea. Something like that, or maybe that's already happened. And I guess, maybe to give some conviction of like why this is maybe like a top that will, that's, on its, I mean, here it is higher highs. I mean, this is a lower high, but over here, these were higher highs, and those highs got extended up to here. Relative to the high here, higher high, RSI putting in a higher high. Over here, putting in a higher high. And the RSI still, there's no bearish divergence with it. But yeah, I was thinking about doing just a Fibonacci retracement from the top here down to the low here. That's a 382. I was thinking 50%, so let's look at that as well. Nearly, that would be at 221, but it looks like the 382 did get a rejection from there, forming this double top, and that is at $1.93.1. And we actually have the high over here on June 16th of, let's see, that the high was 214. Then the high over here on June 26th was 208. Breaking above 2, but not closing above 2. The close here on Thursday of last week, so on the 26th, the close was at 176. So yeah, I mean, it's not able to put higher closes in. So I do feel like there is some weakness there. Does this pull all the way back down to form like a new lower low? And maybe with that, lower lows over here, the RSI did put in a lower low, so no bullish divergence. If it were to pull back to a lower low, which would be coming down to around 57, maybe 60 cents, or just below the low over here, which was at 85 cents, comes down to 80 cents. But the RSI is higher than 34, which is what it was over here, approximately. RSI pulls back to like 50, while this pulls back to like 80, the stock price, 80 cents. That could be bullish divergence to suggest that, it could be starting to move up. But yeah, I mean, I'd say, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on with tariffs, this could be risky. So I mean, maybe it doesn't come down to 60 cents or whatever the doodle suggests. Maybe a good thing to keep an eye on would be not the lows over here, but I like to think of it as the consolidation lows. So this line is based on the low from May 16th, but I'm actually going to move it up. Oops, not that downtrend. I want it to be this line to the close from May 16th, which was at a price of 91 cents. And the reason why I like that, the reason why I like kind of consolidation lows, is because then you get multiple tests of it. And with those multiple tests, you get multiple opportunities to either buy or sell, whether it's consolidation highs, consolidation lows, whatever. You get multiple pierces of that level. And so this level here at 91 cents, let's see the day before. So on the 15th, what was the low? 91.1 cents. So nearly getting to that level, but let's say 92, whatever, somewhere around there. Multiple opportunities to buy the dip or sell at a loss, whatever. I'm not trying to suggest that was a good time to sell at a loss, but maybe somebody had a stop loss there or something. And then here on the 22nd, low of 91 cents. Here on the 27th of May, this is May, the low is 90.6 cents. So it pierced that level, order would have been filled. And then here, very clearly hit that low of 85 cents, pierced 91, pierced 90. And then also, again, on the 30th of May, hit a low of 90 cents, would have gotten to fill at 91. And then on June 2nd, so the first trading day of June, a low of 90 cents would have gotten to fill at 91. And then over here, very interesting, the low is 92, so just above that level. And so when going to like the penny, I think it's good to like round up if it's for a buy or round down if it's for a sell, because sometimes, we nearly get there, but we don't actually. And so that was followed by the close down here at 93 cents. Then it opened up about 65% up, hit a high of over 100% up the next day. But, if you had a buy order at 91 cents, that wouldn't have been filled during market hours, at least. I'm not sure what the pre-market, after hours, or overnight was doing. But yeah, now it's putting in higher lows. So maybe a good thing to do would be maybe just draw like a casual trend line from the lows over here and kind of intersecting with the open from the 23rd and the close from the 24th. Also is kind of retested on the 25th with the low there. And so that does seem like it would be a good level to hold above. So if it were to pull back to around 334 over the course of the next week, maybe it could be finding support there, respecting this uptrend, higher lows, higher low closes, and higher low closes. But yeah, with it being close to $1, I think it gets very risky around there. Reverse split stuff. This is listed on the NASDAQ, so there is always a possibility of that kind of stuff. But yeah, so hopefully, Greg, that was helpful for you. I would think like to do a Fibonacci retracement here. I guess I can do it real quick, but I would think this is like a little premature to suggest that this, is, because we already let's see if I throw up the 786. It already pulled back to that 786. So I don't think that there are any real levels on this that would be useful, but maybe I could, move this to the low here. And then, I could move it to here and then up there, but I'm just going to go like this. Let's see the 50%. I feel like the 50% is a good level to be paying attention to. It's just kind of, middle of the road by definition. That's like $1.50, $1.52, somewhere around there. The 618, that would be around 140. And that would still be suggesting that there is uptrending support, higher lows. So, no problem. No problem. And I'm just going to let's see, from these levels, which one's the 382? I don't think that one's going to be useful. 150. We're actually already lower than that, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, around 140, 142. I mean, actually, this could go. I mean, I would just like to see it hold above, trend of higher lows. And so with that being said, I mean, you could even adjust this trend line to be like that. But I think that's stretching it a little too much. I feel like it's better to do these trend lines based on the opens and closes rather than the highs and lows. So, yeah, and I might just make this light blue fib just so we got a little bit of differentiation there. But yeah, if there are other requests, happy to go over them. But if not, maybe I'll wind the stream down. It's been about 51 minutes. I had a cookie here. I might have a little bit more of it. Excuse me. It's bad news if I drop cookies because it's ant season. But yeah, I might, let's see, these tickers that I just recently covered. Unity and Mara are both up over 1%, whereas Intel and Webull are up less than 1%. Might swoop crypto. This has been, going pretty well, but Bitcoin has that CME gap around 107. So I think we could be seeing a pullback. I'm kind of expecting that. Stonks, anything, AMC up over 1.5%. Luminar still holding my position, but I feel like that's a total dud. Tesla, man, they're taking over the autonomous. Plug Power up about 3.5%. That one's been a surprise for me. I guess, and related to that, I have puts on Plug and ChargePoint. But Plug had insiders buying. The CFO was buying, which was timed very interestingly because his buys propelled the stock above $1 just before they would have gotten a non-compliance notice with the NASDAQ. So I kind of wonder if he did that just as a maneuver to not have that notice, because it's still, around $1, 116. So I have some puts that expire in, I think, December for Plug, 50-cent strike. But because the CFO was buying, I basically preemptively bought 50-cent strike puts like the day before they needed to close above $1, and then they closed above $1, which is pretty crazy. Closed at $1.22. The day before it closed at 96.9 cents. And yeah, so my thesis kind of got screwed up, so I'm not buying any more of that. ChargePoint though, they still have not gotten their non-compliance or their reverse split plan because they're still trading below $1. And it's trading around 74 cents, 74.5 cents in the overnight. But yeah, I mean, this is actually a really interesting thing. 7 count. How many red candles do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it forms a bottom and then bounces. And so from that 7 count, just going from the close there up to, that's, more than 10% move. Easily could have gotten a more than 10% move. Could have even gotten a 20% if one was buying the dip here. 25%. So that's a very nice swing. But it did come into resistance here. Both that orange line and that green uptrend. So I think, it's not playing out as I had doodled here, but it's below that green uptrend. as you can see based on the 2 pivot points here. And then that orange line, for some reason, I'm not colorblind, but for some reason I get the words green and orange confused. But that orange line is at 79.82 cents based on the high from March 7th. Yeah, so both of those levels got rejected from them, opened at the green trend line, wicked above the orange horizontal line, but then closed below both. I think it could be coming down to fill this gap and maybe even to 50 cents. I don't plan on holding my puts on ChargePoint for a very long time. I plan on taking profits soon if I am able to, but currently I believe I'm in the red with them. But they're cheap, so it's not a big deal. GNS is... and Greg is saying, GNS, please. And then also, I love cookies. Haha. Man, for me, I have a really bad sweet tooth. I like donuts and I like cookies. But I've come to realize over the past couple of years, I think I actually like cookies more just because of the texture. Like a donut, it usually has the same kind of texture. You know, whether you get a cake or a yeast donut, it's always kind of the same. But cookies can have a varying texture. And I like butter a lot. I like butter and sugar. Very delicious. Cookies are great. And so, oops, I'm going to come back to Tick Request Live, and I will throw up, let's see, GNS. Genius Group. Below $1, so I feel a little uneasy with this. And also, you know, having had this really big move, it says it's listed on the Amex. So I don't know if this is an over-the-counter stock. It's not listed on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. But let's see, from the lows, just over here. I'll do it from the lows here. Up to, you know, the close, it's up over 180%. 200% to the highs. That's 274% up. About 300 from here, I'd guess. I had drawn this before. What did I draw this on? Like, what's going on here? Was there a reverse split or something? Yep. 1 for 10. So if this was a 1 for 10, I can effectively redraw these levels. So 10, so I move the decimal place over 1. So that's the trend line that I had previously drawn. After, you know, adjusted following the 1 for 10 reverse split. Clearly broke below that. Let's look at this horizontal line. That'd be at 2.8. Oops. Right there. That's what I had previously drawn. At this point, I don't know. I mean, it's like what happened over here when there was a really big green candle followed by a red. It ended up bleeding lower. And so here, I mean, this didn't pull back as much as over here. So I feel like there's a little bit more to this, like more potential to go up. But I think pretty risky. So I'm just going to do a Fibonacci retracement from the lows here. Let's see the 50% retracement. I have no idea what's going to happen with it, but the 50% retracement's around 83 cents. If I were to pull this back to the ultimate lows, that 50% retracement is around 76. Trying to think, this is not super nice, but what could end up happening with this, I guess I'll just draw a trend line to kind of illustrate it. So I'm just basing it on that point so I know where the end pivot point should be. But just like coming over here, I'm going to make that thick and I'm going to make it purple. It's been a while since I've done this, but you know, maybe this is an inverse left shoulder. Maybe this is an inverse head. Now, all then it would need to do is form the right shoulder. And then maybe it'd do something like that. And what's the measurement of that? I feel like it would bring it to around 280. But if it were to have a measured move, so basically from the base of the head, going up more or less straight to the, I'm just going to do it to the break point, but you could make this a little bit longer so it's straight up from the head, the top of the head, inverted, to the neckline. So you could do a straight line. So I could have this like, you know, going up here, but then I need to bring it down to where it would break. So I'm just going to do this like that. So it's just where it was tested over here. And so that would be suggesting a price of like 245. So maybe this does have 2x potential. But I think that this could have a retracement of about 30% before it goes up to around $2. If that even happens, no idea. But that, like, I kind of like that it got rejected from that trend line, that neckline, and then could be pulling back to anywhere between 80 and like 60 cents, I would guess. But it could even go down to like 45. As long as it doesn't go below 21 cents, the lows over here, then that would potentially still be an inverse head and shoulders pattern. As long as this shoulder doesn't go lower than the head, because you can't, like, you know, if you're to be a head and shoulders pattern, you can't raise your shoulder above your head, so that can't go lower than 21 cents. So that would be like the downside risk, but that's like 80% downside, because in the after hours it is trading above $1, up about 6.6% in the after hours from Friday. I guess there's no overnight trading. So yeah, I guess Genius Group is not over the counter, yeah, but I'm just not that familiar with Amex. Maybe I could just search that. I'll do it with Grok. What is Amex regarding the stock market? Amex, in the context of the stock market, refers to the American Stock Exchange, known as the New York Stock Exchange American. It's a stock exchange in the United States primarily focused on small and mid-cap companies, though it's smaller than the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. Historically, it was a separate entity, but was acquired by the New York Stock Exchange Euronext in 2008 and rebranded as the New York Stock Exchange American in 2017. And so key points about Amex / New York Stock Exchange American. So the trading focus lists smaller growth-oriented companies, often with less stringent listing requirements than the New York Stock Exchange. So with it trading around $1, that's not going to be too much of an issue. I will follow up with Grok about this, because I'm curious about the dollar threshold. Trading mechanism it uses a hybrid model combining electronic trading and floor-based trading with designated market makers. And the historical significance is that once a major competitor to the New York Stock Exchange, it's now a platform for smaller firms, ETFs, and closed-end funds. And so the symbol for stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange American use 3 or 4 letter ticker symbols similar to the NASDAQ. So if you meant American Express, I did not. And so is there a $1 non-compliance threshold with stocks listed on Amex. Is there a compliance requirement regarding price? Let's see what Grok has to say. So yes, the New York Stock Exchange American, formerly Amex, has a $1 minimum price compliance requirement for listed stocks, as outlined in section whatever of the New York Stock Exchange Listed Company Manual. Here are the key details. So $1 minimum price rule: a company listed on New York Stock Exchange American must maintain an average closing price of at least $1 per share over a consecutive 30 trading day period. Sounds similar, if not the same, as the New York Stock Exchange, so I'm not going to read more. But I was curious about that. Yeah, and Greg, no problem again. And so Benjamin, and then also Greg is saying, also holding Mara. Benjamin is saying, and hey, what's up? Cheers to you. Cheers to the weekend. Hopefully you had a nice one. And hopefully the week is not too stressful for you, for anybody. For me, I'm only working Monday through Friday, and I'm working evenings, so I don't have to be at work early in the morning, so I'm excited about that. But I got work to do at home, which I'm not that excited about, but I'm making progress. So that's good. But yeah, the stock market's going to be closed Friday for 4th of July, America's Independence Day. So I been working on my house. I took a bunch of siding off. It's my place is a total mess. Maybe someday I'll do a video just going over some of the stuff I've done with it. It's a total mess. But I had a little flag holder, and a flag came with the house, which I took the flag holder down when I was taking off the siding, and I'm going to put it back up for 4th of July, because yeah, I think it's a good, I don't know, I feel like being Americans, like half the population, I feel like is ashamed to be American. But I feel like on 4th of July, it's a day where everybody can just be proud to be American. So I'm excited. I'll probably cook some burgers, drink some beers, maybe some ciders, because I've been doing that a lot lately. And I'm looking forward to a 4-day trading week. But Mara, yeah, I can definitely talk about it. Although I would encourage, because, I've been having a few beverages, and I did this, at the beginning of my day, so I was totally sober. But what do I want to pull up? This video, deep dive into 4 bullish stocks. I believe the third one that I go over, technically I did also do a quick mention of QuantumScape. But of the 4, the fourth one that I go over, there are timestamps. I do go over Mara. So I'm not really going to get into it too much, because I think that anything that I would say now would just either be redundant with what's in this video or would be less thought out, just because I'm not in necessarily the best mindset. But just thinking about like Bitcoin, it is at the top of this range where it has been putting in lower highs and lower lows. And I feel like, I think it's really just a good thing to think about the markets from a psychological standpoint. After it had hit the low over here of like 100,000 on June 5th, it's like, well, I don't think it's going to hit 100,000 again. I don't think it's going to go sub 100,000, but maybe it could sweep the lows. Sweep people out who had stop losses at that green line. And with that, I feel like there was a lot of panic. Oh my God, it's below 100,000. People freaking out. And that was a great dip buying opportunity. But I think that there could be more people shaken out before it goes higher. So I think that it could come down to sub 100,000. I think it could come down to around 97,000. And I went over this in Crypto Corner Sat Stacker. The first part of that video, there's the intro, and then I get into Bitcoin. And so that might be useful as well related to Mara. But I just think that, looking at this chart of Bitcoin, I think that we could sweep the low once more, or maybe if people say, oh, I want another chance to get below 100,000. And then we get maybe a panic sell-off, maybe just down to this midpoint, the blue dashed line. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but the blue dashed line here, midpoint of that downtrending parallel channel, that would be coming down to around 103, 104. So if it starts to come down there, maybe people, like, oh, well, I'm going to wait for 100,000. And then it doesn't go to 100,000. And then it rips faces off and goes up to like 120,000. And people get left behind. So I think that there's an aspect of that. But I do think that if this does go, since this did bounce from the lows of like 98 to 99,000, I think there was a lot of panic there, and people are probably just like, look, I can't handle another sub $100,000 dip. Let's just sell now, walk away from it. And then it dips down to nearly 100,000, but doesn't get there. And then it rips faces off, and those people feel stupid. Or it dips down to sub 100,000, and that couple, those people say, see, I told you so. I'm glad we sold up here. And then after hitting 97,000, it then rips faces off. And then those people feel bad, get left behind. And so I think that kind of relates to Mara, in that I think that over the course of the next couple weeks, we could see a pullback. But I think that July, Bitcoin will end the month positive. And so with that being said, I think that Mara will likely go up. I still think that 12 is a possibility right around where the cursor is, corresponding with this doodle. But in that video, I do go over in depth, so I'd encourage checking that out. I draw the retracement there. I deleted some other ones. I did have a level from a previous retracement, which was shorter term, at 1362. I added to my share position then. I have been adding to my calls. But having redrawn this Fibonacci retracement, which I think is more valid, that level is now at 1352, and we pierced it on June 23rd, hitting a low of 1349. If we do go lower, putting in lower lows, the next level that I would think could be holding as support would be the 618, because 1352 was the 50% retracement. So the 61.8 or 618 retracement, 61.8% retracement, is at 1265. So maybe that's our 1269. Have fun with it, And so if it is still putting in lower lows, just like Bitcoin has been, also putting in lower highs, just like Bitcoin has been. But yeah, I think that this could be rallying up to around 21. I talk about that in the video, this video over here, Bullish Stonks. I go over options data, unusual whales data, and I'll probably follow up on some of those stocks later in the week. I might also just be posting on X about them, just depending on the work schedule, what I'm working on at home. But yeah, I think that, I have calls. This $50 strike call expires in January of 2026, about 200 days from now. I am hoping to make money on that, but maybe I don't. But I do think that the stock price will be going up between now and the end of the year, corresponding with the 4-year Bitcoin cycle, and also corresponding with, making progress with stable coins, making progress with the market clarity or whatever, market structure. I forget what the bill or whatever is proposed in the U.S. government. And then also, if there is an announcement of the U.S. announcing a strategy of taxpayer neutral, so taxpayers aren't paying money for Bitcoin, if the U.S. starts to add to the reserves, I think that could send Bitcoin a lot higher. I think it could send Mara a lot higher. So yeah, but I would say that if it does pull down lower, the lowest I would think it would get is around $12. And then if it does go higher, I think that I'd probably see some resistance around $21 corresponding with the 100% Fibonacci extension as drawn here in light blue. And then also that having confluence with this red uptrend, which I've gone over in previous videos, and I also did go over it in the video over here. So I definitely encourage checking that out. But yeah, with that being said, I have been streaming for a little bit over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes. And so I might wind down just to relax a little bit before going to bed. Don't have work in the morning, but I do got to get some work done tomorrow at home. And yeah, it's just been hot, so I'm tired. But yeah, so with that being said, I'm just going to throw up the little thing here at the end, because as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I'll be doing another ticker request live or something kind of casual similar to this next Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern, trying to do that and taking requests for that. And then throughout the week, I'll just be going over some stocks that stand out to me. If I'm feeling inspired, I'll do it because I don't care if it gets views or not. And I think it's good data. But, I also could be wrong with them. So, I'm just a regular old retail trader trying to learn the markets, not always, making the right calls. But yeah, it's been fun. Hour and 16 minutes now. And so... yeah, maybe I'll stream again sometime during the week, but it will have to be, in the earlier half of the day because I'm working evenings this coming week. But yeah, I hope that you guys have had a great weekend, and I hope that you're looking forward to a nice, hopefully short week coming up, but if not, just a regular old week, but with the market closed on Friday. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for the requests, and I'll see you guys in the next one.